Hey guys, and welcome to another episode in the Park Wars series. This is the third one I've done now, and it is probably out of the three the most debated one. This is pitting the two, what most people say major thrill-based Merlin parks are in the country, and that is Alton Towers versus Thorpe Park. Both resorts, and both owned, as I previously said, by Merlin. Let's just, without further ado, get straight into this park war. So, if you've not seen this series before, basically the way the first few rounds work, which is the coasters, flat rides and water rides rounds work, is basically they're all put into one big list, all of the coasters in this case are put into one big list, and as you can see at the side there, first place is given 16 points, second 15 points, third 14 points, and we go down the list until all 16 coasters get at least 1 point. So coming in at number 16 then, it is going to be the Flying Fish. It was not good. I mean, it's a decent family coaster, but it was very rough for a family coaster, which isn't really very good at all. 15 we have Octonauts, which once again isn't really thrilling. It's aimed at families obviously, and it is, as the pictures for the ride suggest, their first roller coaster, so it is obviously aimed for the much younger age range, but it's still not, in comparison to the other rides, any good. 14 we've got the Runaway Mine Train. It's a nice little family coaster. It is better than the Flying Fish. Not the best Mack powered coaster in the country, that's Scorpion Express, but it is still a nice little family ride. 13 we've got X then. It's alright, it doesn't really do much. It's a bit boring to be fair, considering you can't see it, but I mean the dark coaster aspect of it is pretty cool, and the rave theme to it is nicely done with the laser lights. 12 Colossus. Unfortunately, when I was at Thorpe, I didn't get to ride this, and hopefully if I get to go back down there anytime soon, it'll be open then. But from what people say, it's rough and it's just not fun, so I've put it at 12. I may be getting this wrong because I've not had the chance to experience it yet, but I mean, it doesn't sound very good based on reviews I've heard from people. 11, I've got Spinball Wizard. Don't really rate this one either. It's a bit, you know, boring, really. It's not the greatest marathon spinning coaster. It could be a lot better. It's got a decent theme and a decent song. It doesn't really do much for me. 10 Galactica was much better when it was air. Now, as Galactica really isn't very strong at all, the VR really does detract from the experience in my opinion. 9, we've got Rita. The launch and it's fun, but the rest of the ride's really rough and really unenjoyable. It's not very good at all, Rita. 8 is Nemesis Inferno. For me, this is the highly debated one. Obviously, if you've seen the video I put out a few days ago, which was the Ride versus Ride, Nemesis versus Nemesis Inferno. They are two very closely matched coasters, a lot of people say. I do still personally think that Nemesis is the better of the two, and the reason Inferno is this low down is the second part of the ride. The first part of it's really good. The pre-lift section's good, the first drop and the loop is really good. However, after that it does slowly start to go a bit downhill, and towards the end the interlocking corkscrews and the few final turns I just don't find enjoyable at all. But I mean, some people do find that bit the best part of the ride. I suppose it's all people's different preferences in coasters. 7 is 13 at Alton Towers. Really good family coaster. Not in terms of thrill-wise good. It's not the ultimate roller coaster. I don't care what they're saying, it is not the ultimate roller coaster. That would be airtime, inversions, forces. That would be the ultimate coaster. That is not what 13 does. But what 13 does do well is the nice little enjoyable family ride with a really nice drop and some decent forces on the first drop and the vertical drop as well. Coming in at 6 then, we have the Smiler, a ride a lot of people would rate a lot higher. But for me, I find it rough, poorly transitioned. The best part of the ride is the two airtime hills and probably the first lift hill section. The drop going into it from the station's pretty good too. but the Smiler for me, it's just rough. I don't enjoy it really that much, unless I'm on the front row, which is where it is bearable, but any other row, no thank you for me. Number 5 then, we have got Soar the Ride, which only just beats the Smiler. I did a ride versus ride with these two as well, the two Gerstlauer coasters, and Soar the Ride's it's still not the greatest. It's alright though. It's better than the Smiler for me, just purely because of the pre-lift hill section. And the drop itself on it is pretty good, but it's mainly the dark ride section of Soar the Ride which is the best for me. The indoor inversion is good and you get some nice forces going down the drops. Number 4 then is Oblivion. A lot of people complain that this one is too short, which agreeably it is, but I mean still the forces on that drop are really good. And so at Alton Towers it is my number 2. Number 3 then is Nemesis. It was my number 1 coaster for a long time, but it was dethroned by the 2 coasters you're about to see now. It is a really nice ride and really good and forceful throughout the entire thing, really intense. Its drop, even though it's small, is still pretty good into that first corkscrew, and the vertical loop is the best part of the ride for sure. Number 2 then, Stealth. The launch on it is really good, and then the top hat element is great. And again, this one is argued that it may be too short, and a few people see it as rough, but I honestly don't think Stealth's that bad. In fact, I think it's a really, really enjoyable coaster, and it is my number 2 overall. Then number 1, of course, it is the Swarm. Smooth, forceful, really enjoyable ride, just the all-round great coaster. So then, looking at the scores after that first round, Alton Towers have scored 74 points and Thorpe Park are just slacking behind on 62 points after the first round. Flat rides then, it works the same as coasters, but obviously there's only 8 flats between the 2 parks, so there's only 8 points for the winner of the list. So coming in at number 8, we've got Quantum. It's the Magic Carpet ride. I didn't get the chance to go on it, but the Magic Carpet rides are never really that, you know, thrilling. So I've put it at number 8. Number 7 is the Blade. I find it utterly boring. You get barely any force on it, in my opinion, and it's only ever good if you sit on the back row. I've been dragged on it a few times, but I really don't find the Blade enjoyable. Number 6 is Zodiac. It's obviously the Enterprise-based ride. Not as good as the original Enterprise, which does just about come in at number 5 in this list. Both of them, they're alright, they're decent ride types, but I just don't see them as, like, really good flats. Vortex then at number 4, I did get to ride this one. I was a little disappointed with it, I'll be honest, but it still brings some nice forces and you get some pretty nice height on it too. Number 3 then, Rush. It's kind of like, I suppose you could say, a pirate ship ride like the Blade on steroids. You go a lot higher, but you still don't go all the way around, unfortunately. But Rush is pretty good. Number 2 then, Detonator, really good drop tower, nothing compared to Apocalypse at Drayton Manor, but in terms of a drop ride, it is still really good fun, and to be in a kids section of the park as well is interesting as well. And then that does, of course, leave at number 1, Samurai. Really, really good fun Samurai it is, and I hope to get back on it sometime soon. Okay then, the scores are Alton Towers scoring 80 points and Thorpe Park have overtaken them after that round on 92 points. They just have lots of flats there at Thorpe. It is one of the things they truly specialise in, and I do think Thorpe gets the mix really well of flats and coasters. They have a decent amount of flats and they have a decent amount of coasters as well to go with it. So Thorpe have overtaken Alton. Can Alton re-overtake Thorpe Park? We'll find out going into the next round, which is water rides. So it's obviously working the same as before. So coming in at number 5 is Rumba Rapids. I was really, really disappointed with this ride. I didn't get wet at all on it, which is the aim of a rapids ride. There was no interesting elements. It was basically like a lazy river ride, in my opinion. It was dreadful. Number 4 is Storm Surge. I didn't bother with this one because it's a big slide. I mean, there's barely a splash at the bottom on all the POVs I've seen of it. So Storm Surge only comes in at number 4. Number 3 is the Battle Galleons at Alton Towers. It's a really good fun ride, this one. you get absolutely soaked. I remember one time marathoning it. I rode it about 5 or 6 times, and there wasn't a speck of me that was dry by the end of it. I felt like I could barely move. I felt, you know, when you feel robotic after getting all your clothes wet. That's how I felt, because it's a true soaker. It's really good fun. It's got nice interactions with both guests on the ride, off the ride, and in the queue. So Battle Galleons comes in at number 3. Number 2 then is going to be the Congo River Rapids. It's the major water ride at the towers, and that fact is a bit disappointing really, because Congo River Rapids, it's not the greatest ride in the world, and to be fair, looking at it now, I probably would switch it with Battle Galleons, but I mean, they're both from the same park, so it doesn't really have much of an effect on it. Congo River Rapids, it's alright, it depends on how many riders you have in the boat really, and one thing that's been really annoying recently is the waterfalls have been switched off. No idea why. If anyone knows, could they tell me in the comments, but the waterfalls haven't been on any of the past rides I've had, and it's really disappointing because the waterfalls are probably the one redeeming part of what is a mediocre Rapids ride. And then that obviously leaves number 1, the best one, Tidal Wave. Rivals Valhalla in terms of wetness. I mean, it's probably wetter than Valhalla, I'd say. Just the experience of being in that wave, it feels never ending when you're on it. I remember saying, as the water was still coming down, alright, when's this going to finish, when I was on the ride, because it just goes on for absolutely ages, Tidal Wave does. The actual tidal wave. It's got a nice drop on it too. I mean, the theming of it's pretty poor, but it's not a ride that aims for theming. So then the scores after that round. Alton Towers are now on 87 points, only picking up 7 points from that round. And Thorpe Park are on 100 points after that round. Now then, kids and dark rides, and this is where it starts to get a bit different. Each park gets a point for every ride listed under the kids rides or dark ride sections on their websites. Walkthroughs are not counted in this. So, what do we have then? Thorpe is scoring 9 points. Obviously, we have Mr. Monkey's banana ride there. Cracking ride. And Alton Towers with 4 more kids and dark rides. Scoring 13 points at the end of that round. The scores are now 100 points exactly to Alton Towers, and Thorpe Park still in the lead, only by 9 points though, with 109 points. Theming then, both parks are given a score out of 10 based upon their overall and individual attractions theming. Thorpe will score 5 points out of 10 for it. They do their individual attraction theming really well. It's great to see their individual attraction theming, obviously with the addition of Swarm Island and Swarm itself. There's some great theming to that ride. There's also some really good theming on Saw the Ride too. However, as an overall, they don't really seem to focus on theme that well compared to Alton Towers, who do a little bit more, so they've got 6 points. So the scores at the end of that round, Alton Towers on 106 points and Thorpe Park on 114. Operations then is next up, and each park is scored out of 5 this time for their overall operations. Thorpe Park is going to be scoring 3 points on this round, and Alton Towers is also going to be scoring 3 points on this ride too. Their operations are pretty similar. They're not always the greatest, but they're not the worst at the same time. And so that effect on the scores doesn't really have that much of an effect on them, just adds to them. Alton scoring 109 points and Thorpe Park scoring 117. So next up we are on to price, and this is pretty much whichever park costs less to enter wins 5 points. So it's really straightforward, this one. Thorpe Park costs £52.50 to enter. How much does Alton cost to enter? Is it less? Is it more? Or is it the same to enter? With it being the same company, you would like to think so. But Alton Towers actually costs £52.80. So that means Thorpe Park wins by 30 pence. 30p in it, and that 30p may have cost Alton here dearly because Thorpe Park have got 5 points, so Alton remaining on 109 points as Thorpe Park goes to 122. Final category then, and this is the atmosphere. So this is the overall park atmosphere, the staff friendliness, rides, theming, guests, and it's all scored out of 10. So then, Thorpe Park is going to score 5 points for its overall atmosphere. It's pretty good atmosphere there. It's not as great as Alton though, and Alton are therefore going to score 6 points for their overall park atmosphere. So after the final round, the effect on the scores is Alton scoring 116 points and Thorpe Park taking this ride wars with 128 points. And you could say the major turning category for Thorpe was flat rides. They did obviously back it up later on, but flat rides really did basically win it for Thorpe. So that is it then at the end of this park wars. Which park would you have had win this park war? Tell me in the comments below, and until next time guys, goodbye.